Good morning and welcome to Life Connect. I guess I noticed it first when I was heading south in India 35 years ago with my truck. I was going down to join an open air evangelistic team in the south of India, and we reached the state of Maharashtra, and we'd stopped at a line hotel, as it was called, like a large straw covered shelter on the side of a dusty road. We just ordered our dal fry and roti, and as we waited for the iodine fluid to clean up the water we were about to drink, I was looking around at the usual pictures on the side of the walls, those pictures of the Hindu gods plastered on the mud walls. There was Shiva, and there was Hanuman, the monkey god, Ganesh, and then amongst all the others I noticed one that just seemed a bit familiar. Using the same bright and gaudy colours of the other pictures, there was this haloed picture of a bearded man that looked something like the storybook pictures from my childhood. Jesus. I mean, there he was amongst the many other gods, one of many, many others on those pictures. And as I was about to discover, among the 330 million other gods in Hinduism. This week, we are going to take some time to look at the uniqueness of Jesus. What makes Jesus unique as a person in time and history? What makes him unique in the Bible? What makes him stand out? We're going to look at various things. We're going to look at how he handled people graciously, humbly, and with acceptance, and especially the lowest in society of the time, including the outcast, women and children. How people listened as he spoke, and he spoke, as they said, with such authority. I mean, his words and his teaching were counter the culture of that day and today. He, for example, said, "He who would be leader must be servant. He who would be first must be last. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall see God." We want to see how he exuded such faithfulness and goodness and gentleness and kindness and patience and peace and joy and love. We're going to take time to look at his death and how his once for all time sacrifice, what that accomplished for us. And then we're going to look at his resurrection, how that defines who he is, the Son of God, and how without that resurrection, our faith would be futile. And that's where we start today. Jesus is unique as he is the Son of God. One of the earliest hymns that we have recorded in the Bible is found in a letter that Paul wrote to the Philippians, and he says these words: "Who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore," it goes on to say, "God exalted him to the highest place." God and yet man. Notice it says here, he was made in human likeness. You know, Jesus knew what it was like us to feel tired. That moment in the stern of the boat where he actually lay down on a cushion, exhausted from the day, and fell asleep. You know what it was to be overwhelmed with grief. Smallest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. You know what it was to be disturbed by injustice, to experience anger or exhibit anger. The first real man. Napoleon Bonaparte began reading the Gospels in his last days on the island of Elba. And he told General Bertrand, he said, "I know men, and I tell you, Jesus Christ is no man." He went on to say, "Superficial minds see a resemblance between Christ and the founders of empires and the gods of other religions. This resemblance does not exist. Everything in him astonishes me. His spirit overawes me. His will confounds me. Between him and whoever else there is in the world, there is no possible term of comparison. He is truly a being by himself." So wrote Napoleon. John, the disciple as he describes him, that Jesus loved, wrote an amazing gospel, the Gospel of John. And in it, he, of course, starts or talks about Jesus as the Word who became flesh, the Word who was God. This is what he writes at the end of his gospel, though, in the last chapter and the last verse. Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. Just a chapter before, he defines the purpose of why he has written this account, still drawn by the magnitude of Jesus. He says these words in John chapter 20, verse 30. Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these, here's the purpose, these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. In his gospel, he describes 7 signs or miracles, he calls them signs, before the resurrection of Jesus, the greatest sign. Miracles or signs that talk of his power over nature, his power over misfortune, his power over time and the quality of life, his power over distance, his power over numbers, and his power, most importantly, over death. But it's the claims about himself, what he says, I am. The I am statements, 7 of them written in John's Gospel. I am light to your darkness. I am bread to your hunger. I am the shepherd, the good shepherd for your wandering. I'm the true vine for our and your disconnection. He says, I'm the door, the truth, the life, the resurrection, the water even for our thirst. But it's this one, John 14 verse 6, that raises the greatest eyebrows and hackles and disagreements even today. This claim of exclusivity for himself, where he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. We see it among all the world's gods and faiths and religions and philosophies even today. This exclusive claim of Jesus to be the way back to God, the only way to the Father. When he said those words, I am, in Greek, ego eimi, words used by God to describe himself to Moses way back in the second book of the Bible, Exodus. What is he saying? I mean, they're words that actually, on one occasion, literally bowled over a group of people. They fell backwards when he said, I am. They caused outrage, I should say, to the people that sought to kill him. And even today, that exclusive claim, I am the way, the truth and life, is abhorrent to those who serve around the altar of so-called tolerance. C.S. Lewis, who wrote many of the books, the Narnia series of books, once described himself as possibly the most dejected and reluctant convert in all Christendom. You know, he'd been walking in the gardens one evening with J.R. Tolkien, and they talked about faith. And a few days after that, still pondering the conversation, Lewis gets into the sidecar of a motorcycle for a trip to the zoo. He later wrote these words. When I set out, I did not believe that Jesus is the Son of God. But when I reached the zoo, I did. He goes on in his classic book, Mere Christianity. He says these words. I'm trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about him. I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept his claim to be God. That is one thing we must not say. A man who is merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on the level with a man who says he's a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else a madman or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool. You can spit at him. You can kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about him being a great moral human teacher. He's not left that open to us. He did not intend to. Now it seems to me, continues Lewis, it seems to me obvious that he was neither a lunatic nor a fiend, and consequently, however strange or terrifying or unlikely it may seem, I have to accept the view that he was and is God. You know, John describes in his gospel the moment in the life of one of the disciples, Thomas, sometimes called Doubting Thomas, when he encountered the risen Jesus. And when he, as Lewis states in his statement, Thomas, fell at the feet of Jesus and said, "My Lord and my God." That is the one true response. If Jesus truly is the Son of God, then it has to be a continual life of worship. We end with a challenge. C.T. Studd, the missionary who gave up fame and fortune to follow the call of this Jesus to the lands of China and India and eventually Africa, he once said this: "If Jesus Christ be God and died for me, then there is no sacrifice too great that I could make for him." Father, as we today stand for the truth of the claim of Christ, your Son, to be the Son of God, give us courage and boldness, gentleness and respect as we seek to share and to live out the consequences of such a truth and such a belief. We worship you this morning and say with Thomas, "My Lord and my God." Amen. Tomorrow we are going to let's hear from Gordon Curley, who's going to share with us the uniqueness of the death of Jesus Christ. May God go with you as you go ahead into this day.